like to call to order the Fulton City Council meeting December 10th, 2024. Tori, go ahead with roll call.
Mayor Wendy, Mayor Pro Tem Berggraf,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Here.
Brondike,
Here.
King,
Here.
Mask, here, Van Campen, here, Wilkin.
Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seeing that we have no presentations or appointments, I did want to take just a second under the recognition section and just recognize our city staff that has been pulling together with all the recent events that have happened, just to kind of make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction. Just appreciate all your guys' effort and communication and whatnot, so thank you for that. The council appreciates it as well. And I also just want to make note, Tori, that I will be voting as an alderperson at tonight's meeting. All right, and it looks like communication from visitors. Ken Damhoff?
Yes.
Would you like to talk to the
I
council?
got one piece of paper, two sides. I don't know if I can do it in 3 minutes, but I'll try.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
She won't
I'm Ken Damhoff, and I'm having a dispute with the city about ordinance 1636 on the way it is written and how it is being enforced. First, a little background about the dispute. I have lived at the corner of 601 17th Avenue since 1979. And I've had enclosed trailers on my property for over 40 years with no complaints. I currently own two that were located on the far east side of my property, sandwiched between my garage and the ComEd substation. And in the rear of the trailers are in front of my storage shed, which sits directly south of the Palisades apartment building. The trailers are parked 42 feet from 17th Avenue and 108 feet from 6th Street. I've had multiple conversations with the mayor, chief of police, code enforcement officer, both my aldermen, and this is what I was told about ordinance 1636, which was approved in 2019. All regulated vehicles need a current state license and need to have gravel, asphalt, or concrete completely under the entire regulated vehicle if they are parked on the front or side of the property. However, this doesn't apply if the regulated vehicle is parked on the rear of the property. I was also told the regulated vehicles couldn't be tarped, and that if regulated vehicles are moved every 7 days, they would be in compliance. I couldn't see where the tarping or the 7-day movement was written in the ordinance. I initially moved my trailer to the back of my property 4 feet from the street, and then I was told by the code enforcement officer that it must be parked 3 feet off the setback, which is equal to 22 feet. Does anybody know, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So on Thanksgiving Day, I moved both my trailers to the back of my property after permanently removing my clothesline poles, to the dismay of my wife. I still hadn't purchased the plates, which cost $364 yearly. Illinois has really raised the price on plates. I did call the DMV in Chadwick, and they felt that since trailers weren't being taken out on the road, that no plates were necessary, although they said they weren't law officials. So after moving my trailer, I did an audit of how this ordinance was being enforced in my neighborhood, and this is what I found. A gentleman has a camper on 16th Avenue, which is parked directly on the side of his house. It's nicely tarped and has gravel 6 inches in front and 6 inches behind the tires, which was approved by the code enforcement officer. There's a gentleman on 21st Avenue that has a camper and several trailers, and he was told, since he owned the lots behind his house, that he could legally park them there. However, my neighbor has the same situation, and he recently, in the last several years, purchased the land directly behind his house. But when questioned a member of the police force about this, he stated his trailers couldn't be parked there since there was not a house there, even though this property was directly behind his current home. In a meeting with the alderman and the code enforcement officer, I was told the property on 27th Second Avenue was entirely commercial, even though I showed them the current property located at 910 22nd Avenue was listed as a homestead dwelling and has a combination of old vehicles and farm equipment on the side of it. There is a boat in my neighborhood sitting on wood, just like my trailers were. And I don't feel it is being moved every 7 days. I just wonder how this code is being enforced. I was upset at my initial meeting with the police, and I stated that I felt pictures of my license plates that were taken on my trailer were illegal, since they could only be taken from the street legally unless they had suspicion of a crime or had issued a search warrant. I confirmed this with another Illinois police officer, but I haven't discussed it with an attorney. The code officer also asked me at the time if I had camera footage or if my property was posted for no trespassing. Does Fulton want me to put up no trespassing signs? I only checked a few cases, but this is what I found. I don't think it's fair.
I guess I would need some time to review that, but Adam, do you have anything to share?
Well, I
that?
think you need to understand is you're talking about ones that are different from what you had to do, but I'm still dealing with them one job at a time. So not everybody's up to code like they're supposed to be, and I know the ones that are not, so I am addressing them as well, so.
Now, the gentleman I talked to on 16th Avenue said you approved this.
Approved what?
Setting the camper right next to his house, on the side of his house.
Yep.
And it has a tarp on it, and it also has gravel 6 inches in front of the tires and behind the tires, not under the entire camper, which was fine with me because you can look where my trailers are sitting in my house. There is nothing under it, just dirt. Nothing grows up under those trailers. What's the point of putting gravel, asphalt, or concrete there?
Why are you looking at me? I'm just enforcing it. These are the ones that made the ordinance.
Okay, let us kind of review what your letter has. Can we get a copy of that letter?
You can, yeah.
And then,
I also have diagrams of.
yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be tonight. You can get us a copy and drop it off, and then a few people we'll discuss it with Adam.
You want to make a copy of it right now, Paul?
Tammy can do that.
Is that camper on 16th Avenue, is that plated? So there's a big difference there. That camper's plated and roadworthy.
Right.
Yours are not plated, they're
But I was told to build a fence 4 foot high, so you couldn't see the plates. I wouldn't have to have plates. I've got a bunch
Fair
of,
enough.
and I don't know, there might be something else in there too, I'm not sure.
I will just speak to Ken, the goal of this, we just incorporated a community service officer within the last year in hopes to do some different cleanup around town with certain eyesores and different issues that we have that do have issues with our ordinances. And before, we didn't have a community service officer that could go out to enforce these
I
things.
understand.
So Adam is working through this as best he can to kind of get everybody up to code as he can, and he has to take each one as an isolated instance. You did share a lot of good data there, and we'll certainly review that and see if we can come to some conclusion. And if we find that an ordinance doesn't make sense, we're certainly open to making changes, but we just have to understand, the benefit versus.
Well, I appreciate the police, I support the police, I don't have anything against those guys. And I support the city, I don't want to complain, I would never do this if it wasn't pressing, believe me.
Sure, no.
What is it that you would hope would be different about this, that you think?
I just
that
want to
you
put
think
my
it's
trailers-
unfair? So what is it that,
Barb, I would like to just put my trailers back where they were. You couldn't see the plates anywhere unless you got real close to them. And here's a diagram of my property. I live in Hoagie's old place. Kim Hoagie's. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we will certainly take it under review and see what kind of conclusion we can come up for you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. And then next up under communication, Tori was gonna speak to the digital signs and our progress on those.
Yes, I'm happy to say that the digital sign on 4th Street is up and running. I've got 2 slides on it. The first one just says City of Fulton, shows the windmill in the background. It has the time, date, and temperature. And then the next slide, I just added a happy holidays. So we got to start. The one on 10th Avenue, we're still waiting for comment.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
So the signs are, they're really fun to work with. They're easy to work with. And we don't have to run the same information on both of them at the same time. They're totally separate. So
That's a great addition to our community.
it is.
Where's the other one? Where's the second one? I've seen the one down by the water, old
It's
water.
it's by Superwash across from Cheers Corner, 10th Avenue and 84.
Okay.
And a bike path there.
Thank you for doing that, Tori. Getting it up and running, looks nice.
Thanks.
Are you training anybody else to go through
Ally.
the? Okay, perfect.
Ally gets trained for everything, doesn't she?
All right.
You're good though, Alex.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody has confidence.
Moving on to the consent agenda. This is to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 25th council meeting, approve the bill list and bill list addendum, and approve the treasurer's report.
Van Campen.
Mindy, I have a question on something that was said, not a correction on the minutes, but something that was said at the last one.
Okay.
Can I talk about it now, or you've got a place for Alderman report? Would you rather just I brought it up then?
I think as long as we're approving it, go ahead and bring it for discussion now.
Okay. It's not a question of how the minutes was read, but Tammy had reminded us last meeting about the streetscape and the one way that is on that picture that we saw. And I've been around long enough that I remember when we had one ways and two ways and the controversy that goes with it. And one thing I thought might be helpful to us when we reach a discussion, if we could have some information about how many cars are actually going to be coming down 4th, down 3rd Avenue onto 4th Street. And then when they get to the post office, they'll have to either go to 3rd Street or 5th Street to go over the bridge, right? So I take 5th Street quite a bit. As I come down the hill on my way to church, whatever, I just take 5th. And I sit there on 14th Avenue for quite some time. But there's nobody ever behind me or anything like that. But now, all that flow of traffic is going to be coming. Could we have some idea? Eric, could you do that for us?
I'll see what I can do to get a traffic
You know
count.
what I mean?
You would essentially want to see how much traffic would be coming off the bridge coming this way,
Well,
and then,
no,
or vice versa.
Because Fourth Ward is so much bigger than it was when
Yep.
we had before. And I remember down in front of Witt's Inn, we had this big orange barrel that said, "Do not enter." It was not a very welcoming thing at all.
Right, which is
Yeah.
why the one-way was gonna get
Yeah.
switched to the opposite
Yeah.
direction, was my understanding.
But this will have a real traffic, high volume of traffic coming that way. If we could just have that statistic before we talk about it, it'd be helpful. Okay.
I'll see what I can find.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. Mhm. Hi. Tammy was reminded about that at the last meeting about that we're gonna have to make a decision pretty soon, Tammy. I was just asking for some additional data on that, so thanks for reminding us.
Anything else? Tori, roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Berggraf,
Yes.
Banker,
Yes.
Radbeck,
Yes.
Logan, Van Campen,
Yes.
Mask, Boonstra,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay, so we are up to the motion to discuss and appoint a mayor pro tem for the remainder of the mayoral term that is now vacant. This would be effective January 1st, 2025 until April 1st, 2025 election. Can I get a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion. Van Campen.
Yes.
Thank you. I had sent an email out to the council and the city staff and the clerk and the attorney, just to state that I didn't feel with my time constraints and my short tenure on the council of less than 2 years that it would be ideal for me to be the one to cover this vacancy for the next 5 months. And in that discussion, we did have a conversation, and my understanding is Keith King is interested in taking that role. So tonight, we would be looking to appoint him. to cover that vacancy if everybody's in agreement. I did check with Rebecca. Wendy's resignation is effective as of the date in her letter, so that's the end of the year. So ultimately, this would start January 1st. And then the acting mayor, it would be Mayor Pro Tem, not acting mayor. So Keith, if he were appointed, would still keep his alderperson voting role and all of those other things as well for the next 5 months until the election would take place. So any discussion on that or any questions?
Tim?
I see it says just here until April 1st. That is the election, but your mayor, you won't have certified election votes for 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. So your pro tem is going to have to go generally until your newly elected mayor usually takes place the second meeting of that month.
Okay.
So maybe you want to revise just that date to include at least the first meeting.
And I think one time it didn't take effect until like the first
Then
in May because it was so
Correct.
late.
So first meeting in May would be ideal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would say that.
Someone make a motion to amend that, please.
I will.
Thank you. Second?
Second that motion.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready for roll call with the amendment to make that effective January 1st, 2025 until the first meeting in May, and to appoint Keith King, alderperson, to take the mayor pro tem role.
And Alderperson Baker,
Yes.
King,
Steve?
Mask,
Sorry, Tori, one moment. Rebecca's advising that we would need to amend that to add Keith in as the appointee as well.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Okay. I think
Can we
we're-
discuss one more thing?
Sure.
Maybe we shouldn't put a date, because once that election is certified, the public has elected a new mayor. Maybe we should just refer to it once the election is certified, and leave that
The next meeting after.
after, yes.
The following.
Yeah,
It's the next meeting after that they swear the new one in.
yes,
Okay.
yep.
That clarifies.
I'll make the motion to amend that. Get a second?
I think happen.
Okay, Tori.
we'll just start over. Alderperson Banker,
Yes.
King,
Abstain.
Mask,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
Logan, Brondike,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Berggraf.
Yes. Okay, next up is the motion to approve the 3 resignations in our packet. Mayor Wendy Ottens, who resigned per our last meeting as of the effective date of December 31st. Tammy Garibay, who we were expecting a retirement at the end of this year, so I believe January 3rd is your last effective day. And then also Chief Police Nick Nebling. And along with this motion, we're looking for approval to move forward with the search of an interim and/or full-time police chief. Can I get a motion to discuss, please?
Mask.
King.
Thank you. Okay, so within this motion, we're basically looking to get an internal posting done and then eventually maybe an external posting on the chief of police position so that we can get that moving forward, so that as of chief's resignation as of January 6th, that we would have a plan to go forward as far as what we're looking for to replace chief. So if we can get the motion to move that forward, or any discussion on that, I guess, so that we can. Any questions? No? Okay, go ahead, Tori.
Alderperson Wilkin, Banker,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Mask, Brondike.
yes.
Would you like that internal posting effective as of tomorrow?
Yes, please. Okay,
And thanks for your work on this to get this on to this point. So
Absolutely.
So that we don't have a gap that we're trying to cover.
next up is a motion to approve by resolution to update the check signers for the city of Fulton with the central bank in Fulton. It appears those who were able to sign checks would be Amanda Fosdick, our city treasurer, Allie Hamling, business manager, alderpersons Keith King, Sue Van Campen, and Jackie Wilkin. Motion?
Boonstra.
Ron Nickel, second.
Any discussion on that? Okay. And Tammy, that'll get taken care of with the bank.
I will get that started tomorrow, I just needed it in minutes.
Okay. Tori, you wanna go ahead with roll call?
Alderperson Boonstra,
Yes.
Wilkin, Banker,
Yes.
Mask, Mayor Pro Tem Bergerath,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yeah.
King,
Yes.
Bryan.
Yes.
Motion to approve moving forward with the acceptance of credit card payments to include a processing fee for each transaction to be paid for by the individual. Motion?
King.
Boonstra.
Ally did a great job explaining this to us last meeting, but if anybody needs a refresher, let us know. She can answer any questions you might have on that. Just another technology advance to help the citizens be able to make their payments a little bit more conveniently.
Ally, how many people do we have that gets automatic deduction out of their checking account to pay them?
Oh, that I don't know offhand.
About 450.
That's the preferred way, isn't it?
Yes, that was my goal when I started in 2006, to get the whole city turned over. Didn't work yet.
It's a good chunk.
Well, now Ally has a new challenge.
Yep.
She's up for it.
I think everybody really likes paying with the credit card online, and we need to move forward with that.
Do we know what the fee is gonna be?
It is 2.3%, I believe.
And that'll be passed on to the individual.
Yep.
So the more water you use, the higher the.
Yeah.
Why do people are reluctant about using it through the bank where there's no fee to it or it's automatic?
Yeah, people are reluctant for you getting in their checking accounts for some reason.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just so they can, pay it when they have the funds available.
And honestly, I think the senior citizens in town, they use this as social activity, getting out and paying their bills.
Oh, I remember my mother, I would pay everything in the mail.
Yep.
And then my mother would call me on Saturday morning and say, I need you to run errands with me. And we go to the waterworks to pay the water bill and here and there, and all these stops.
And it's the same people that come in, you can tell almost the
No, she
exact
just-
same day each month.
She just liked having that paid sticker there, and so. Then when she knew I was too busy, or when I'd say, Mom, I'm just too busy, she asked my husband, and he gladly did it then. And then he would take her down to the breezeway for breakfast afterwards. So you're right, Tammy, it was a little social outing for her as well.
Alderperson Mask,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bergerath,
Yes.
Banker,
Yes.
Brondike,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Wilkin, Van Campen,
Yes.
Boonstra.
Yes.
All right, motion to vote approve budgeting $4,000 from next year's video gaming fund for landscaping at Fulton's new band shell.
I'd like to table this until after our goal setting and everything, until we have everything resolved.
Motion to discuss that, to table it.
If it's tabled, if nobody wants to make a motion to
Okay.
go forward with it.
You guys okay with tabling that until after negotiations and budget? Okay. Okay, on to discussion items. The first one up is the grow facility license fees. Tammy, did you want to speak to this?
Well, as you can see, I included the ordinance in the packet that you had passed several years ago. And it states that we all know that our grow facility is going to be opening up probably within the next, I'm going to say 1 to 3 months.
Okay, I was wondering when.
I drove by there today and there was quite a few cars in the parking lot. So I don't know if they're training or bringing in, interviewing for hirees. But at the time that you passed it, you passed that there are 5 different things that you can tax them on. Which at that time, we decided $10,000 for each individual tax, ranging from infusion to transportation, different things like that. So that's $50,000 a year. You can keep it that way. You can think this is something that you're going to have to think in your budget workshops. Ordinance can be changed. You can up the fees, you can lower the fees.
Can we change the fee after we establish that with the company originally?
I do not believe there's anything in their TIF agreement that states that, so.
So it'd just be an ordinance change if we would opt to do that.
Well, I think we ought to take a look at it when we do budget.
Yeah, it's something that you're going to need to take a look at in your budget talks.
Do we know what any other communities that offer this?
That I do not know. I can tell you what we charge for the recreational dispensary. They pay $10,000 a year for their Monday through Saturday license, and then an additional $2,000, which comes up to $12,000 for their Sunday license. So $12,000 for that facility down there.
Would you recommend we make it part of our budget workshop to determine?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that in so you are aware that's coming up. Now, keep in mind, he has a TIF agreement. It's a pretty hefty TIF agreement. So, and I do not believe that you're gonna make a bunch of money except off of your property taxes down there. And his TIF agreement really won't start until probably year 2 because our taxes are all back. But he's coming in at 85 or 90% of his property taxes has to be covered by us. So these are just things to,
You need to make your money off when you sell the land.
you have to keep all that in mind.
We're not making anything else.
Same with the TIF 1 he's in. Now that will be ending in another couple of years, so that, but up to this point, we've had to pay him back 85, 90% of his property taxes there, plus 20% of the sales. So we're not making a bunch down there.
Sure.
Everybody thinks we are, but we're not.
Well, that TIF district is invisible to the.
TIFs are wonderful for the businesses coming in.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on that? Yeah.
Good information that for us to keep in mind.
Okay. Moving on, discuss the interim police chief, action items for January 13th, 2025 city council meeting. I will say Chief Nick has been awesome in agreeing to help find resources and things for his replacement. We did kind of look into some different options. We considered the Chief of Police of Illinois linebacker program. As we looked into that, it appears it's going to be pretty costly, and we weren't sure that we were going to have any candidates that were willing to drive the distance it would take to get to Fulton to do any sort of interim position, or that it would be worth our while to go that route. So then we've considered some other interim options, or it sounds like we may have a couple full-time permanent options that we can look into, which we'll go into closed session later to discuss. So that's all I really have on that for the discussion portion right here, but we can talk more about it in closed specifically. Next up was the FOP negotiations team. So this is basically going to be our negotiation team that needs to be prepared next month as we get the letter from the FOP to discuss the salary negotiations for our police department, which are due. And so we're gonna have to create a team to get together to do that. So it'd be an action item that we would need on January 13th agenda to get that team put together. So we'd like Eric to sit on that, Ally as business manager, and then the mayor pro tem, which will be Keith at that point, and then one alder person. So however we want to deem that, but we'll need to appoint that at the next meeting to get that moving forward. Any questions on that, or of that committee or anything like that?
If you're putting it on for a vote, who would you're gonna have to come up with an older person.
Keith, do you wanna?
I think you should sit in on it, Mindy.
Keith and I are on finance, so we discussed that that might be a good option at this point. Everybody okay? Head nod that we're okay with that? Okay, then yeah, you can put mine down for that. Alright. And moving on then to the new liquor license application, role of the liquor commissioner and the role of the deputy liquor commissioner. So Barb, you and Sue sit on this committee, is that right?
And Terry.
And Terry, okay, so whoever wants to speak to that would be great.
Well, let Sue start. She did the most background work, so.
Well, this is just the application that we will send out for the business to complete, and then the role of the liquor commissioner. It basically explains itself, what it is, so. Or you can add to it.
Well, we wanted to include the role of the liquor commissioner so that everybody on the council, it'll be a part of our ordinance, that anybody could ever look it up, all involved. We were all surprised how complicated, how many things were really in that role. One was this Bassett training that we didn't know about, and so we just learned a lot along the way, and this way it's already available for anybody who ever wants to look something up. We're all aware of it if it's in our ordinance, so we wanted to include that. Let's see, we had the 3 things, and our committee is done with that now, and we've sent it on to Rebecca. Have you seen these?
I have not seen the ordinance yet.
These 3 you haven't seen?
These I've seen, I've not seen the ordinance yet.
Okay, well, this is what we ultimately finished with this, and she looked at it, so it's looking. So instead of giving you 50 or 60 pages of this new ordinance when it comes, or how big it is, these are 3 things that were done.
Okay. Mindy? The liquor commissioner position would go to the mayor pro tem because of Wendy's resignation. But Keith, you do have the right to appoint another person if you don't want to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Tori.
And just compliments to Renee. She's been a wonderful asset for us at this committee. Comes with a lot of knowledge, and it's been great.
Is there anything you want to add, Terry? That we missed
Yeah,
out?
so page 44, we went through our liquor ordinance, and it hasn't changed in 40 years, so we went through, updated it. We've got a pretty good rough draft, but on page 44, you can kind of see the new schedule of fees. Every one of them went up, from 40-year low. They've been the same ever since. So I do think that, banquet, I think we agreed to lower that one.
No, we didn't.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought it was still gonna be the 250.
No.
All right, I'll check my notes on that one, but we also did away with the AA1, just kind of lumped everything together. And then the 4th column over, you can kind of see unlimiteds, but there's also council approvals. Council approvals, as of right now, just in our talks, would mean a business plan. Somebody wants to come to town and get an A license, a business plan would come here, or the business owner come here with a business plan and kind of set out what their end goal is, and we get the approval over that.
We made the mistake, we're gonna have to re-enlist A1 because Adam down at convenience store here has an A1 because there's a Dean, yeah, because they're selling hard liquor also, so we have to put that in.
Well, that was gonna be my question. I wondered about the A1 versus like the convenience, because I guess to me, a gas station selling liquor is a little bit different than having a full liquor store.
Right.
And so I almost feel like there should be a little bit of a differentiation between those two.
I think we need to put the A and A1 back in that. I don't
Yes.
think it should be just one.
And that, we only have one out, so we should remain one for convenience store. And we're gonna have to discuss more on that.
January.
I love the condensed list though. It's wonderful. And the application. I think that's nice for us to be able to look up and see who's involved and that they're doing their training and all of that gets accomplished, so.
Having it in writing rather than somebody just tell somebody, tells us, it just gives you a paper trail as well.
Documentation.
We're also looking, we're looking at other towns' liquor ordinances, and there is usually pay to the liquor commissioner associated with taking that role on, so that's something we're gonna have to discuss at a later point as well.
Separate of their elected official role?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Was there any intention for any action items to come out of that, or just a sharing at this point?
Just sharing that we got that, well, we thought we had those three, now we're already, and that's probably gonna happen with this as we go along, but,
Hopefully we'll have a rough draft of the new ordinance, maybe by the January meeting, we're hoping, but
Sure.
we'll see.
Sounds good. Next up, we have the International Zoning Code. Eric, are you discussing this, or Adam?
It's more or less just to see if the city would consider, because I know the zoning ordinance that exists now is from 1986 in this little book. But with us now adopting the International Property Maintenance Code, a lot of the things refer to the International Zoning Code. So I thought, just since they kind of work in the same sense together, that if we would consider maybe adopting the new International Zoning Code, just so it all kind of fits together better and it's all one thing, rather
Does that
than.
make your job easier?
Makes it
too?
easier, yeah.
Okay.
And we like to make.
No, that's good to know.
I would add, our zoning code now, a lot of it is what's in the
Yes.
new international zoning
Yes.
code, so not a lot will change. It goes a lot more in depth on signage, but I mean, like a fence is pretty much what we already have now. So there won't be a lot of changes, but there'll be some changes that'll come with it, but I mean, I do feel like it's a worthwhile for the city to go forward with it. I think it'll clean a lot of things up for us.
What's entailed in that? We just have to make an action to,
I would assume so. Just
Okay.
kind of, I don't know how they did it for the property maintenance code, but I assume.
It would just be, we would be adopting the 2024 International Zoning Code.
any detriments to adopting it that we're aware of? Any issues?
I mean, really, it's what essentially we already have on the books now. It just, like I said, it kind of expands on like how you can have signs for businesses and, you know, whether it's up in the air, in the window, or, you know, however they do it. But it's a lot more ironed out in that. So, I mean, that's really the biggest difference that I saw in there, just from reading through the book. But I mean, unless Adam saw something I didn't, but.
No, that was the biggest thing I saw too, the signage.
So if we find that we have an ordinance that's not in agreement with the zoning code, then you would bring that to our attention and we could adjust the ordinance if it made sense to do that, or? Okay. That's just.
But as it stands right now, most of what we already have on the books already aligns with that, so
Okay.
we shouldn't have a whole lot of changes we have to make, so.
Is there any local communities already in that zoning book?
I know Port Byron, but I think they're the 2021, but they adopt as the new ones come out, so I mean, I think that's what, I'm assuming Sterling does the same thing, and, you know, you just kind of have to adapt to the changes as they come, so.
And when is this one available? It's available now?
It is, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we can move to make this an action item for next week?
Yep.
Okay.
Should we make it an action item to just adopt the most current zoning?
Most current, I would do that.
So we don't have to keep voting every time.
Maybe we should review it before we adopt it. Wouldn't that be our due diligence?
yeah,
I would like an opportunity.
just to be familiar with what it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Yep.
Review and discuss it next meeting, and then the following meeting, if we want, we can adopt it.
That's a good idea, just to get a
I
quick.
guess I just wasn't sure how lengthy this was. I mean,
It's not a thick book, but
Okay.
it's very dry.
Yeah.
sounds good.
Very dry.
Okay, we're scheduled January and possibly February 2025 budget meetings, so to get those scheduled. Is the intent to talk about dates for that? Are we thinking Saturdays? Are we?
It's usually on Saturdays.
Saturday mornings.
Is that preferred?
Second, I think, didn't we do second Saturday, and then if we needed to come back the third?
I feel like last year we did them in the evenings, but maybe.
Yeah, I know my Saturdays are gonna fill up very quickly here starting January 1st. So I would prefer after, you know, we can either, you know, add a meeting somewhere, or, I mean, if we have to make it a Saturday, I'll just have to make it work.
Which is,
It don't matter to me.
Monday's good for you, cause you're off. You're
I'm
home on Monday,
home.
but you're home, so Mondays would be a
So be
good
the
one.
off like,
Third or first or third.
And I would suggest doing it on a non-council meeting night, that way we're not dragging the
Well, that's a
meeting
good idea, yeah.
even longer.
First of the month's always kind of tough, maybe the third Monday of the month
Mhm.
for January and February.
February, that's getting out there a ways. I would say have them fairly close together.
Okay.
The third
So that way
Monday,
we-
the first Monday.
Yeah, that way it kind of gives us a chance to, you know, take back what, you know, the council's looking for, and then we can make adjustments as we need.
Okay.
And then if we needed another meeting in February, we could address that when the time comes, but.
So we don't have to do 8 o'clock this time. We can put on Mondays, we don't have to do the 8 o'clock.
What time?
I would say stick with the 5:30.
Okay.
So that'll be January 6th.
Jeff, is
Well,
5:30
the
work for you?
third Monday is
Well, if
January.
the work doesn't interfere, I'll be there. If it does, I won't, just like council meetings.
Third would be our 20th.
And the first Monday in February.
And that is
Third.
Third.
Got it.
So January, what was the date?
Then January 20th.
6 o'clock, February
And
3rd.
we're doing that at 5:30.
Well,
Everybody good on that?
So just,
Ally and Tammy are probably busy with those little.
Now, you don't have to worry about me anymore.
Everybody's gonna be on a beach somewhere, so.
Ally is being busy and she's sending postcards, getting postcards from Tammy.
Okay.
Can we make it at 6, Eric? Then Jeff can be here.
yeah, we can make for whatever time.
6 o'clock then?
Six.
Jeff, are you good with that then?
6 works, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do
Great.
6.
Okay. All right, on to committee reports. The finance committee met, we actually will be meeting again this Thursday. Any questions on that? Meeting notes there?
When do we expect an appraisal of the marina properties?
I haven't heard. I tried to reach out to, Mr. Norman, but have not heard anything back from him. I don't believe you're gonna get anything until after the first of the year.
I'm guessing he's struggling with comparables.
I would think so.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what do you compare that to?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
That's right.
All right, moving on to the tourism committee minutes. Any questions on those? For Barb?
We had a good meeting and, Christmas walk. Becca, can you give us an update on Christmas walk?
Well, it was last Friday. It seemed to be relatively successful. It did rain this year,
Yes.
so that was good. Well attended.
And Canyon,
It was very well attended. It was a beautiful day. We were open for the Christmas in the Canyon from noon till 6 p.m. And when they lit the luminaries, they came in droves using the trolley. I think we had 5 trips where the trolley was packed, dropping people off.
it's just really fun to see people ride that trolley. I know it costs $250, but I'll tell you, when you see people riding it, and it works so well that people don't have to try to park around the canyon, it's just nice. But those 2 things have happened since our tourism meeting, so I wanted everybody to know that lots of activity going on in Fulton over the weekend.
Okay, thank you, Barb. All right, other than that, I think we need to go into close, so I'll take a motion to go into closed session.
Sam?
Oh, we got it, King and Tishman.
Oh, sorry. On this Alderman report now, is this something that's a week on here? We still have to go there.
Mayor's report.